Here's the controversial truth no one likes to admit. Poverty isn't just about money. It's about psychology, identity, and invisible chains that are harder to break than any locked door. People say if you just work harder, you'll escape poverty. But if that were true, the hardest workers in the world would be the wealthiest. And we both know that's not reality. The real prison of poverty isn't low income. It's the way poverty reshapes the mind. It builds patterns of fear, scarcity, and survival that repeat generation after generation. A person may climb a little, but something pulls them back. Sometimes society, sometimes family, and most of the time, their own psychology. Think about this. Why is it that two children can grow up in the same poor neighborhood, one eventually breaking out, while the other remains trapped for life? The difference isn't just opportunity. It's how poverty conditions their thinking, what they believe is possible, what they think they deserve, and how they respond to risk. Ann-Helen Bay's work highlights an unsettling reality. Escaping poverty is not only an economic battle, but also a mental one. The mind can become addicted to struggle, to self-sabotage, even to chaos, because it feels familiar. In fact, for many, stability feels so foreign that it triggers fear rather than comfort. This video is not about romanticizing poverty, nor is it about blaming the poor. It's about understanding the deep psychological traps that keep millions stuck, even when opportunities exist. By the end, you'll see why poverty is so hard to escape, not just because of money, but because of how poverty teaches people to live, think, and even love. Now, let's break it down into 5 truths most people don't want to hear. 1. Poverty teaches survival, not progress. When people talk about escaping poverty, they often reduce it to a matter of effort. Just work harder, save more, be disciplined. But here's the uncomfortable truth: poverty doesn't train people for progress. It trains them for survival. And survival and progress are 2 very different skills. Progress requires long-term thinking, the ability to sacrifice comfort today for a bigger reward tomorrow. But in poverty, tomorrow is never guaranteed. Poverty forces the brain to focus on the immediate, the next meal, the next bill, the next small crisis. It doesn't leave room for building a 5-year plan when the rent is due tonight. This isn't about laziness. In fact, some of the hardest working people on earth are poor: the single mother juggling 2 jobs, the laborer on the streets, the market woman calculating debts in her head. They are not idle, they are exhausted. But exhaustion doesn't equal progress. The skills poverty demands, stretching food, juggling small debts, reacting to emergencies, are survival skills. And those skills, while sharp, don't build wealth. Psychologists call this the tunneling effect. Constant financial stress narrows the mind. You lose the ability to think broadly, because all your energy is consumed by the problem directly in front of you. If your child is hungry today, you don't have the bandwidth to think about saving for next year. That tunnel vision helps you survive today, but it destroys your chances of thriving tomorrow. And the cycle repeats. Children raised in poverty inherit this mindset, not always through words, but through observation. They watch their parents borrow to get by, juggle bills, and focus on survival. And so they grow up thinking life is about getting through, not about building ahead. It becomes a quiet inheritance. Survival as identity. Here's where it gets controversial. Poverty creates intelligence, but the wrong kind. It teaches people how to stretch, how to negotiate, how to endure. These are real forms of intelligence, but society doesn't reward survival intelligence. It rewards progress intelligence. The world pays for innovation, patience, and strategy, not for clever ways to survive another crisis. That's why so many hard-working, resourceful people remain stuck. The cruel irony is this: The poor are often highly skilled, but skilled in ways that keep them surviving rather than advancing. And because survival feels urgent, progress always feels like a dangerous luxury. Planting seeds for the future feels risky when the present is unstable. This is why breaking free is so difficult. It's not just about earning more, it's about retraining the brain to believe in a future stable enough to invest in. Until that shift happens, poverty will keep producing survivors. And survival, no matter how clever, will never equal progress. 2. The scarcity mindset becomes self-sabotage. One of the most damaging effects of poverty doesn't show up in bank accounts. It shows up in the mind. Psychologists call it the scarcity mindset. When life is built around not enough, the brain learns to obsess over short-term survival instead of long-term growth. Think about it. If every bill, every meal, every opportunity feels uncertain, your brain is trained to grab whatever is available right now. That's why so many people in poverty choose immediate rewards over bigger, delayed ones. If someone offers $50 today or $200 in a month, the rational choice is obvious. But to someone who's lived with instability, the $50 today feels safer. Scarcity whispers, tomorrow is not guaranteed. At first, this mindset is about survival. But over time, it turns into self-sabotage. The habit of chasing the quick win begins to block the possibility of long-term success. A young man might quit school for a low-paying job because waiting feels too risky. A woman might stay in a toxic relationship because at least he's here. In both cases, scarcity disguises fear as wisdom. Here's the controversial truth. Many people unknowingly participate in their own poverty, not because they're lazy or unwilling, but because their choices are shaped by a constant fear of loss. They play it safe, but safety itself becomes the trap. Scarcity also distorts self-worth. When you grow up lacking, you learn to expect less not only from the world, but from yourself. You begin to believe that wanting more is arrogant, that dreaming bigger is unrealistic. This is why so many people sabotage opportunities when they finally appear. The mindset says, I can't hold on to this, so why even try? Another cruel effect is how scarcity turns people against each other. When resources feel limited, someone else's success can feel like your loss. Instead of cooperation, there is envy. Instead of building each other up, people compete for scraps. This division keeps communities stuck. But the most dangerous part is this. Scarcity often hides behind the mask of realism. People say, I'm just being practical, when in truth they're being guided by fear. The mindset convinces you that settling for less is the smart thing to do. But in reality, it's just the safe thing to do. Breaking free starts with awareness. Asking yourself in moments of choice, am I doing this because it's truly wise or because I'm afraid of loss? That single question can expose the grip of scarcity. From there, change comes through small steps, delaying gratification, saving a little, refusing to settle for better than nothing. Scarcity is not laziness, it's a survival strategy. But what helps you survive in one season can keep you trapped in another. Poverty doesn't end the day you earn more money. It ends the day you stop thinking the way poverty trained you to think. 3. Comfort in chaos. Why stability feels unnatural. Here's a strange but undeniable truth. For many people who grow up in poverty, chaos feels like home. Struggle feels normal. Instability feels familiar. And when stability finally shows up, it feels uncomfortable. Why? Because the human mind adapts not just to environments, but to emotions. If you spend years in constant tension, never knowing if the bills will be paid, never certain where the next opportunity will come from, your nervous system wires itself to expect stress. Chaos becomes the baseline. This is why peace can feel boring. A stable job, a calm relationship, a predictable routine. These things sound like blessings, But to someone conditioned by scarcity, they feel almost suspicious. If you've lived your whole life waiting for the next problem, then silence feels like the calm before the storm. You don't trust it. You start looking for cracks, doubting the good, waiting for it all to collapse. The tragedy is that this restlessness pushes people back toward the very chaos they've been trying to escape. They leave steady opportunities because they feel trapped. They chase risky situations because at least they feel alive in them. Deep down, it's not success they're running from, it's the unfamiliar quiet that success brings. And here's where the cycle deepens. When stability feels unnatural, people unconsciously sabotage it. They overspend the moment money comes in. They pick fights in relationships that were finally peaceful. They quit jobs that were finally secure. Not because they want failure, but because failure feels more familiar than success. This is the invisible weight of poverty. It doesn't just deny you resources, it reshapes what feels normal. It convinces you that struggle is your natural state, and stability is a trick. That's why escaping poverty isn't just about gaining more money. It's about retraining the nervous system to accept peace, to believe that good things can last, and to stop equating calm with danger. But here's the hard part. This rewiring feels unnatural at first. Sitting in stability feels like sitting in a room that's too quiet. You want to make noise, to stir something up, to feel at home again. That urge is powerful. But if you resist it, if you can sit long enough in the silence, eventually your body learns a new baseline. Chaos stops being home. Stability starts feeling natural. Until then, many remain trapped. Not because opportunities never come, but because when they do, they feel too foreign to accept. And so, chaos wins, not through force, but through familiarity. 4. Men's blind spots. How pride keeps them stuck. Let's be honest. For many men, poverty isn't just an economic trap. It's an ego trap. Pride becomes both the shield and the prison. Instead of confronting their struggles directly, too many men hide behind appearances. They want to look strong even when they're barely surviving. They want respect even if it costs them progress. This is one of the most overlooked blind spots of poverty. The way pride convinces men to value image over growth. A man will buy flashy clothes instead of building savings. He'll boast about hustling while refusing to learn new skills. He'll rather appear confident in public than admit, even to himself, that he needs help. The irony is painful. The same pride meant to protect dignity often destroys it. Pride makes men defensive when they should be learning. It makes them reject opportunities because they fear looking weak. It keeps them stuck in low-paying jobs because they're too proud to start from the bottom in a new field. In short, pride tricks men into protecting the very identity that poverty already controls. And here's the deeper psychology. Men are often taught that their worth comes from being providers. But when poverty strips away that ability, instead of adapting, many double down on appearances. They become more obsessed with being seen as strong than with actually building strength. That obsession is why so many never escape the cycle. They are fighting for validation instead of transformation. This is the wake-up call. Pride is not power. Pride without progress is just performance. If you want to rise, you have to kill the ego that keeps you stuck. That means being humble enough to learn skills you don't have. It means being willing to look small today so you can grow big tomorrow. It means admitting what you don't know instead of pretending you've got it all figured out. The men who break out of poverty are not the ones who look toughest. They are the ones who are teachable, adaptable, and willing to sacrifice appearance for growth. Pride clings to survival. Humility creates transformation. And if men don't face this blind spot, poverty will always have the last word. 5. The hidden comfort of victimhood. There's a bitter truth that few want to admit. Poverty is not only a struggle, it can also become a kind of comfort. not the comfort of luxury, but the comfort of excuses. And this is what makes escaping poverty so difficult. When life is hard, being a victim feels easier than being responsible. If you can say the system is against me or life is unfair, then you no longer have to face the uncomfortable truth about your own choices. Victimhood provides a shield. It explains failure without demanding change. But here's the controversial part. That shield is heavy. Yes, the system is unfair. Yes, circumstances are brutal. But when victimhood becomes identity, growth dies. If you define yourself by what was done to you, then no matter what opportunities appear, you will sabotage them. Why? Because losing your victimhood feels like losing your story. This is why many people cling to their struggles even as they complain about them. Being a victim allows you to be seen, to be pitied, to be comforted. Responsibility, on the other hand, forces you into discomfort. It demands sacrifice, discipline, and change. And change is frightening because it strips away the familiar. Psychology shows us that identity is powerful. If you see yourself as a victim, you unconsciously seek situations that confirm that belief. You look for proof that life is unfair, that others have it easier, that success is impossible for people like you. In this way, victimhood becomes self-fulfilling. The cruel irony is that victimhood feels like safety, but acts like poison. It keeps you from trying, because trying means risking failure. It keeps you from changing, because change means losing sympathy. And so the cycle of poverty deepens not only because of outside forces, but because of the inner comfort of staying where you are. Breaking free requires a ruthless decision to stop identifying as the wounded and start identifying as the warrior. To say, yes, life is unfair, but I refuse to let unfairness define me. That shift is terrifying because it removes your excuses, but it is also liberating because it hands you back your power. Until that shift happens, poverty will always win, not because escape is impossible, but because victimhood feels safer than freedom. We've walked through the layers of poverty, the chains in the mind, the comfort in chaos, the pride that blinds men, and the subtle seduction of victimhood. And maybe you've noticed something unsettling. Poverty isn't just about money. It's about psychology. It's about identity. It's about the stories people tell themselves every day. This is why escaping poverty feels so much harder than it should. Because it's not only about climbing an economic ladder, it's about unlearning the patterns that poverty teaches. It's about retraining the nervous system to accept stability. It's about silencing the pride that values appearance over growth. It's about rejecting the false safety of victimhood. Here's the controversial truth I want you to sit with. Poverty is not just forced on you, it's also repeated by you. And until that part is admitted, no amount of external help will matter. If your mindset is chained, even opportunity will feel like a prison. That doesn't mean poverty is your fault. It means poverty is your fight. And like every fight worth winning, it demands courage, self-awareness, and sacrifice. To rise, you will have to abandon habits that once kept you safe. You will have to accept that peace feels strange at first. You will have to let go of pride, excuses, and the seductive comfort of being the victim. The world will not hand you stability. You must demand it of yourself. And the first step is not out there, in the system, or in luck. The first step is in here inside your own psychology. So I'll leave you with this. Poverty is not just a condition you live in, it is a condition you think in. And until your mind escapes, your body never will. Now I want to hear from you. Do you see traces of these patterns in your own life, or in the lives of people around you? Which one feels the hardest to break? Scarcity, chaos, pride, or victimhood? Share your thoughts in the comments because your perspective may be exactly what someone else needs to hear. And if this video challenged you, even uncomfortably, then share it with someone you care about. Sometimes one hard truth can spark a breakthrough. Because here at Mindrise, we don't run from the uncomfortable. We face it so we can rise beyond it.